Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Crypto Scene Investigation, where we look at various cryptocurrency projects and we ask ourselves, should we be investing in these or not? Today we're going to be looking at IHC, aka Inflation Hedging Coin. If you guys like what I do on this channel, like, subscribe, and if you do wish to comment, please have a bit of a read of that shebang down the bottom. This is quite interesting. So yeah, also, for those of you who have been watching my channel, I do appreciate when you have been coming onto my little community section and voting on these things. So this is very helpful for me. Thank you guys. So seeing as most of the votes have gone towards, in fact, this was actually at 100% on this middle line, but I've now refreshed it and now we're sitting at 60-40%. In terms of what sort of things you guys would like me to do on these videos. So I'm going to give you guys brief overviews of the project so far. If you do want to continue to vote on this, that would be cool and helpful. Just give me an idea of what you guys prefer, because I'm wanting to tailor it to what you folks want. Also go to Patreon if you want to request anything. Cool. Next section. So this is IHC. So I highlighted this section because this is pretty much the most important thing. So what makes IHC unique? So I'll give you guys my own explanation of it. They're essentially, from what I see, a deflationary token. That's like the simplest way to put it, but they're a little bit more than that. Like, they have like a few other sort of ways which they can incentivize holders. But this is what they say. So Inflation Hedging Coin, IHC, is not just another speculative cryptocurrency without any solutions or backing. IHC burns itself annually from its total market capitalization at the US inflation rate to keep its store of value, and will continue to do so until its total market capitalization becomes equal to the number of IHC tokens in the token holders' wallets. So yeah. So to me, they're sort of like a deflationary plus token, is I guess what you could refer to them as. General sort of comments in terms of the right hand side, you can have a read of that bad boy there. So they say that it's a dead coin now, but there's some things which we'll look through to decide whether or not that is actually true. So as you can see, the price since the official release has just steadily gone down and down and down. So that's all good and exciting. Its current market cap, so this isn't the confirmed market cap, but it says 35 million, which is incredibly low. So this is less than half of generally the recommended for what you want to invest in. If you want to have a safer investment, if you want to have a riskier investment, which could potentially provide you better benefits, then having it at 35 million is a really good number to have it at. So in terms of the exchanges which they're available on, they're on PancakeSwap, Mexi, BitGlobal, Bitmart, and ApeSwap. So in terms of our little radar here, what we can see is Mexi sits in tier 7 and tier 6, but Bitmart is in tier 6 and tier 5. So with this one, I'm going to put it as a tier 6 because in order for it to probably get into tier 7, it would have to have at least one of these others in there as well, but it doesn't. So I'm going to put that as a tier 6 in terms of the exchanges which it is listed on. So you can also have a look at, we're going to go to the tab before. So this is XMeta. This was developed by IHC. So they have had an IEO, or an initial exchange offering already. And so this is their exchange. Now what is interesting is that their transaction fees are pretty much the exact same as Binance's transaction fees, which is at about 0.1%. So good on these guys. So it says powered by Binance Cloud. And I believe that if you actually hold the actual tokens on the XMeta exchange, you can also possibly get like more IHC and something like that, to be honest. I wasn't too sure about that, but yeah. Anyway, so this is what BSC scan tells us about this. So as you can see, the main sort of top 3 wallets are actually smart contracts. Binance actually holds a decent percentage. So I believe that this is probably eventually going to be ending up on Binance's exchange at some point. That is my theory. I haven't found any information which actually confirms that, but if they do end up hopping on to the Binance thing, the fact that they are actually powered by the Binance Cloud, and the fact that Binance owns a hot wallet on here, makes me think, oh my gosh, so this is something which could potentially be pretty big. And you guys know that I don't just shill for the sake of shilling. I try to take a calculated account. So as you can see, another wallet which is also unlocked holds about 11%, which is a pretty high amount, to be honest. So yeah, so if either of these guys in both the 11% were to potentially sell off, like let's say Binance is like, oh, we don't actually want to be with them anymore, and they sold off, then that could quite drastically decrease the price even more below what we can see right now. So yeah, so bear that in mind. That is a pretty intense thought to have. Yeah, so let's have a look at some other things. They do, so from what I could see, I believe that all these are actually open source as far as I am aware. So as you can see, this would be considered open source here. Don't think that's considered open source, and no, it's just a PDF of their audit report. So yeah, so I think some of these may be like open source-ish, especially this assets section, but the others are kind of just one file. So what does BSC check tell us about this? So they're saying zero buy and sell tax. Remember what I told you guys, and this is really fascinating, is that Binance will not accept tokens if they have a buy tax and a sell tax, because usually Binance wants to actually give their own buy and sell tax. So that's quite interesting. Yeah, so they say the ownership has not been renounced. They can see the dev wallets there. They also talk about the token supply there, and it's interesting because they say 0% has been burned. So in terms of the actual total supply, oh my gosh, that is interesting. So they would have started out, because from what I had been seeing, they actually started out with about 1 trillion tokens, and then they did some burns, but for some reason the burns don't appear here. So my question is, where are the burns? And then even BSC checks like, okay, there's like 0 that's been burned, so I'm kind of like, interesting. And then yeah, in terms of the LP info, it looks like there is a dev address which owns 99.94% of the liquidity pools, so that's concerning, which is interesting. Let's have a look at what Token Sniffer tells us. So Token Sniffer, similar things as well. In terms of those stats, they do go into a little bit more further detail in terms of what these liquidities are among. They also say 0.01% has been burned, or less than 0.01%, so something about 0. And they say parts of the extra liquidities, and it looks like what the heck? So this is the same. What? What am I looking at? So this must have been like a test token contract, is my guess. Yeah, don't know what's happening with that. Let's have a look at what Moonarch says. So according to Moonarch, this is 7 months old, so it was done on the 10th of the 9th, 2021. As you can see, create a wallet, it says holds 0.78%. Liquidity, it says that there's $157,000 in that liquidity, which is quite a lot. In terms of the other sort of rug check things which we can essentially look at, they do note that this is a honeypot risk here, which is set excluded address of transaction fee can change the fee. So that's why they say honeypot risk. However, I think that this is a false negative, and the reason why is because it is set excluded address of transaction fees. So what that means is that if they want to show any sort of nepotism or favoritism and be like, hey buddy, oh pal, you never have to pay transaction fees, they can essentially do that with certain wallets from what I can see. So Kapai. Here is something very impressive, and this kind of like caught me off guard. This is their Reddit. Now, often when it comes to Reddit communities, they barely ever have over 5,000 members. This has 47,000 members, okay? That is a lot of members. Like, that is a heck of a lot of members. So I'm sort of like, where did all these members come from, right? Because I'm like, that number is unusually high. So yeah, but at the same time, like zero comments, zero comments, zero comments. Like, why? Like, can we actually comment on these things? Like, we can comment on these things. Like, it's, I don't know, man. I mean, that actually had 2 comments. Let's click on one which has actually got 0. So yeah, we can actually comment on these things as well. So I'm like, okay. So let's have a look at what the subreddit stats tells us. We're just looking at some of the social metrics right now. So as we can see, they had a massive burst around here. They went all the way away from 4 digits. In fact, they were actually at 3 digits in late September. And then they went all the way up to the 46,000 mark. And now they're at the 47 and they're sort of just like chilling around here. So I'm like, where did all these guys come from? Because I don't know how it could have gone so high. Because when I have a look at the comments per day stats, we can see that this is pretty normal as well. So 230, and then so only a few per day after that. And then we can also see a similar thing here as well, posts per day, and then it sort of dropped as well. So in terms of where these kind of like posts and comments, how well they have been doing in the last, like, since November, that's literally equivalent to what I see when I've looked on other Reddits which have, let's say, like a few hundred members, or they might have like less than, I don't know, like 3,000 members, right? Or something along those sort of lines. Well, less than 5,000. Let's raise the the top a little bit more. So yeah, I think that sort of either shows that there was either some sort of manipulation here for them to have gotten this much, or something's kind of happened there. So I feel like there might have been some sort of bot manipulation. Now, we're not just going to go based off this stat, we are going to go based off a little bit more. So here is our little bit more. We're going to look at Twitter for a moment. Now with Twitter, they have lost 710 followers in the last 30 days. Usually one reason why this happens is because I think that a bunch of accounts might get banned or something like that. That is my theory. And then they just end up like dying, and then so they just lose their followers like that. Because I haven't seen any other reason for why they should have been losing this many, other than probably the obvious-ish fact that that they've just sort of been going steadily down and down the ring of fire. So there's that. What we will actually briefly do, though, we'll briefly jump onto PooCoin, because when I've had a look at a bunch of other YouTubers talk about this project, that they've all been like, oh my gosh, guys, like, you can be like earning so much money from this, you know, like you could have gotten a 23x by now. But this doesn't really tell us much neither. That's irritating. Because for some reason it only really goes back to about November, which it looks like most of these sort of things, most of these big moments were happening around the October sort of mark. So, the September to October mark. So I'm sort of wondering what's happened with that. Yeah, video contest. Maybe I should upload this video. But here is one thing which is kind of like a bit concerning for me. So they say that they have 93,000 followers on Twitter. According to CoinMarketCap, they have only got 3,362 watch lists. Like, that is very small compared to their Reddit and their Twitter, which is a bit strange and concerning, because oftentimes I will see this number here lining up quite easily with what we can see from their IHC official. Now, from the other tweets which I have seen and which I have gone and looked at, most of them have no comments. So, like, I mean, this one, it says that it's got one comment, 163. Gosh, I take that back then. When I was looking at them, they said that they had no comments. This one says that it has one comment. We'll jump to it, and does it actually have one comment? And then I click show, and then nothing happens. Cool, so we know that much. What about one which has a... So this one says 0 there. This one has 2. Let's check out these 2 comments. We can't see any comments. So I'm not sure what's kind of happening with that. So maybe I was right about the 0 comments, but maybe I'm wrong. You guys can be the judge of that. But it's not just the fact that it's surprising that these guys have got so many followers. It's the fact that they have been around since August 2021 and have so many followers, because that is a lot of followers for such a short period of time. This Reddit, from what you can see, was also created on August 17th, 2021. So I feel like there has been some level of manipulation here. And when we have a look here, this is the only post which I could find this on. There is a bunch of bot comments. This is definitely going to be huge. This is definitely going to be huge. This is definitely going to be huge. The project is implemented professionally. The project is implemented professionally. The project is implemented professionally implemented. Yeah, so the project professional, you know. So there is a whole bunch of bot comments, but here was my original thinking with this, okay? Here was my original thinking with this. My original thinking was, hey, these guys, they weren't the ones to purchase those bot comments, okay? That was one of my original thoughts, is that they weren't the ones to purchase those bot comments. But yeah, after that sort of Reddit thing, I'm like, nah, these guys must have done something sus. So yeah, so this is in terms of the Google Trends and searches with them. As you can see, this literally looks like a looks like a little Bitcoin sort of like up-down thing when people do the technical analysis thing. So as you see, they had the huge moment in October. Okay, so that was when they had the huge moment, and then they had a brief moment in January, and then in the last 30 days, barely anybody's been searching for it, right? So I definitely think that there is some background manipulation going on here, and that ain't great. That is not a great time. These say that these are their partners. Whether or not they actually are partners, yes, no, it's debatable. They also show their roadmap. We won't be looking at their roadmap from their white paper, but this is one of the examples of this. So they have done a bunch of things, which I think is really awesome. So in terms of the roadmap, we can actually see things which they have completed, things which they still have to complete. So this comes under 2022 Q1 listing on Tier 1 exchange. I mean, I'm thinking that might be Binance. But I guess that we'll sort of see. And also for Q2 and Q3, I don't think they've fully meshed it out yet, but keep in mind that from the seams of it, they also haven't completed a bunch of these things down here. So I'm not too mad about it, but it would probably be a bit nice if maybe they were to decide to move some of these things into like the Q2/Q3 section. The reason why I say that is because we're kind of like almost really done with Q1, or maybe we are done with Q1. So the fact that it's still sitting under Q1 is kind of like, oh, really, guys? Really? Yeah. Otherwise, the website's pretty clean. There was only one link which I could find which didn't work, but I can show you guys that soon. We'll cut out of that for now. So this is their actual roadmap. Sorry, not roadmap. Their white paper. So this is their transaction fee, showing you exactly how that works. Jump to page 69. This talks a little bit more about the tokenomics themselves. They've talked about what the IEO price was, which was the 0.0001, which if we have a look at the current price is 0.0003, and it's just been gradually going down, 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 the ring of fire. Use of proceeds. So in terms of the proceeds which are available, so as you can see, the majority looks like it's going to be technology and operations, which is fair enough. And so they also show their team, which we will be looking at shortly soon. I don't see any sort of, it would be nice if we did maybe see like some sort of vesting periods. I couldn't see anything regarding the actual vesting itself. So that would have been nice for us to actually have seen that information, because that vesting would actually tell us when these would be released and unlocked to us as the public, for instance, which could be helpful. But I believe that these top three boys are actually going to be used for what we can see here. So this is their tokenomics section from their website. As you can see, they've got some pretty decent stuff. So they have said burned. So this is 100 billion burned for the IFO allocation, another 100 million burned for the DeFi liquidity pool making, and then 230 billion is locked on smart contract, and then so they say 70 billion has been burned of that. which makes sense for why we are currently sitting around about a little bit below the 730 billion IHC tokens. So just so that you guys can understand that. And then so as you can see, this is also so you've got locked on the smart contracts for the founders team and advisors. Once again, it would be great for us to be able to see how long they are locked for, because we currently do not know how long they're going to be locked for. And then you can see some of the other things for what they will be doing with that. So yeah, this talks about their team. Now this is the only link which I could find which didn't work. This one here, yoink yoink yoink, can't actually go there. But this is their team, so I'm not going to pronounce the names except for maybe Stephen. See, even that I could get wrong. But in terms of their experiences, so FinTech and Blockchain Council of Mongolia, IHBit LLC, so he's the Chief Executive Officer, founder of Cryptocurrency Mongolia Group. So I think that all these guys are Mongolian from what I understand, and apparently like they sold out like, was it 10 million tokens in like the first 30 seconds or something crazy like that. Co-founder and chief operating officer of Carguan, and also co-founder and chief CEO of BitmonX. So he's definitely had a bunch of experience as a CEO, which is fabulous, so that we can feel a little bit more trusted. This fellow has been a investor for IHC Esports and Binance Cloud Crypto Exchange and token projects. So it says investor here, whereas on the actual page he's actually the chief financial officer. So that's kind of interesting that yeah, so but then it also says that he's the CFO for Birkeland. So whether or not he's just an investor for these guys, and or maybe he hasn't updated his LinkedIn, I don't know, but I mean, as you can see, Stefan, he reshared a post 1 week ago, so I mean, if he's been on in the last week, then I mean, he probably would have updated this thing, right? But you know, we can't always jump to conclusions and assumptions now, can we? Because those may not be true. And then, so not going to pronounce the name, is one of the co-founders, and it says that he is the CFO, which is kind of like, I thought that Stefan was the CFO, but according to the website, this fellow is the chief operating officer. So I don't know what to believe anymore, dude. So he's been a board member for Tomio, founder and director for MOT Wealth Academy, equity derivatives analyst for Russell Investments, and yeah, so co-founder and CFO, if he is actually the CFO, as I say, uncertain. And the last two guys, I didn't do this dude here, but he's the chief technology officer. And I'm not going to pronounce both these names here, but chief trading and risk officer and chief communications officer. Now, both of these guys have YouTube channels. This first one is from a channel called Swing Traders. So for those of you who want to know and learn, you can definitely jump on here and watch and listen to those. And the other one has 185 subs, and so that's pretty impressive as well. So I believe that both of these guys are actually quite known within the Mongolian community as well. So that's quite interesting as well. So let's jump to here and see what we can find. Functional and clean website. Yeah, pretty functional, pretty clean, pretty good. Like the little download logo thing down there, that's awesome. And the fact that it does say source code, although source code leads nowhere, so that's another link which doesn't work. So I'll give them about a 6 because there's 2 links which don't work. And they also are missing a pretty important piece of information. Any threatening big boy holders. In fact, I think I should actually add another one in here which actually talks about their white paper. I might add another one. That could be interesting. Yes, or I might switch out one of these ones. Any threatening big boy holders? Not really. They'll get about a 7 for that. Because I mean, like, they don't give us information for when things are going to be unlocked, or how long they're going to be locked for / unlocked for. And as you can see, there is still this wallet which holds 11%, which is still a huge amount. I mean, $26 million of that amount. And yeah, so I mean, and Binance could drop off at any moment, because they aren't actually on the Binance exchange yet, but they may be. Control plus V paid bot comments. Oh, this one's a hard one. I'm gonna give them about a 5, because as you could see from their main post from 2021, they did have, you know, like copy and paste bot comments, but I didn't see any others from any of their other posts. So it's almost kind of like they took all their marketing and financial things and they were just like, let's let's promote it right at the beginning. And then, you know, actually, I'm gonna drop it down to a 3, to be honest, because that Reddit, nah, that is way unusual. Is the coin distribution fair? From what I could see, yeah, it was pretty fair. We'll give it about an 8. Solid roadmap, yeah, I'll give them about a 10. Yeah, I'd say that I'd get about a 10 for that, because it was a really good looking roadmap. Is the team docs with LinkedIn? Yes, give them about an 8, because I didn't have everybody. There are no interviews or AMAs that I could see, so they get 1. Any relevant team experience? Yes. From what we could see, they actually do have a bunch of experience, so we'll give them about an 8. And any notable partnerships? No greatly notable partnerships. I mean, Binance-ish, yes. Yeah, so I'll give these guys around about there. So yeah, as you can see, they get a 7 out of 10, or a 3.5 star. So yeah. Hope that was helpful for you guys. Once again, if you guys did like this video, please consider liking and subscribing. And yeah, if you do wish to comment, once again, if you can have a read of that little bad boy there. Yeah, and if you do want to make any sort of fan requests, please do consider becoming an advocate, or if you want to join the Discord community, you can do that as well. Yeah, and if you did like this video, please consider sharing it, because I do want to be able to, you know, keep on helping people with their financial investments. So anyway, guys, that's me. I hope that this was good for you. Fare thee well, be safe, don't do anything I wouldn't do. Much love, ta-ta, goodbye.